Hello and welcome to another video. Today we are starting off with my blank sketchbook because it is another character design video. Yay! So I've been wanting to design a character for a while now. For my Mafia couple OCs, you guys know who they are. If not, I'll put up a picture of what they look like right now. I've talked about them a couple of times, and some of my very first character design videos were actually character design videos of me revamping them because they were old OCs that were actually in an AU, and then I wanted to split off that AU into a whole new story, so they needed new designs. And so they're not the only ones who need new designs in that story. Other characters in that story need new designs, and so today I figured I would go ahead and revamp one of the characters in that story, which would be the main male character's dad. I feel so bad because the main MC, the male MC, he still has no name. I'm thinking about it. I feel like I actually want to know what's funny is I think I came up with a name for his dad. And so maybe that will help me think of new names for him. But yeah, anyway, we'll talk about it a little bit as I get into my notes that I have on his dad. And so basically the dad character, I kind of wanted to be a bit of an antagonist through the story because he is the one who prompts the two to enter into their arranged marriage situation. Like, he's like, hey, I want you to enter this arranged marriage because I feel like you cannot take over in the family, like the Mafia family, by yourself. And basically, and then he also like secures Kira, which is the female lead, as the wife for his son because she like encroached on his territory, and he laid the smackdown on her. Basically, it's like, hey, I'll either kill off your whole family or you're gonna join my family as a wife to my son, right? So he basically is it blackmail or extortion? One of those. I think that's extortion, to get her to marry into his family because he thinks that she's so capable, and as a mafia wife he feels like she will be able to help his son. And so yeah, he's an antagonist for both of the characters, and so I wanted him to design him because he's actually one of the more pivotal characters in the story. He pretty much sets the events of the story into motion, and I felt like his design is actually really important. And so unfortunately I don't have any preliminary drawings for him just because you guys know I have this whole new job and stuff, and I have not been feeling super well recently, and so I didn't really have any time to do any drawing, but I did have time to write all these fucking notes. So I wrote a whole bunch of notes about what I wanted him to be, and then I also, a lot of the notes, like, they go against some of the other notes that I wrote, and so it's like a little bit contradictory in here, and so he has no name yet, but I'm leaning towards, well, I'll tell you guys about it a little bit after I do the drawings of what I feel like I want his name to be. But basically the gist, I just wanted you guys to tell the notes because I actually wrote a lot of notes. Typically when I do character designs, I don't write anything down. It's only started like a couple weeks ago, or last week. No, not last week, but the week before last week, where I did that turning my keyboard into a character thing, that I actually started writing down notes for characters, because I feel like when I write down my ideas, it helps me think about it a little bit more, because I always think that just thinking about things will help me remember them, and it doesn't. I only remember things if I write them down. And so I've been trying to write things down more recently so that I can remember them. So I've been writing ideas I have about him down here. And so basically the gist of that, while this writing, you guys can read it if you want, but basically I want him to be an old man around 60 years old. I want him to have a bit of a serious attitude, in that he's like into the business, because more out of duty than like love for the game. He doesn't like love being a mafia boss, but he does it because it's his responsibility. He was born into it, he was raised for it, and so that's his job. And so that's why he's kind of disappointed in his son, because he was doing it and then he gave up, you know what I mean? And so he's kind of like old man, tired of doing this, because like I said, it's not what he loves to do, it's something he feels like he has to do. And he's like, I'm old now, okay? Being a mafia boss is a young man's game, and so you gotta take over from me, bud. And so he's old, he's tired, he's kind of exasperated and tired of other people's shit. He's kind of no nonsense with his son, just because he feels he has to be hard on him, because he's like obviously wasting his life away and such, and a bunch of other things. But I'll go ahead and get into some of my ideas and like just try to design him for you guys here now. I'll talk to you a little bit about the thought process I have through in like voiceover, I guess. Anyway, so let's get into it. Okay, so as I was saying, I really wanted him to be sort of a tough guy, I guess, if that makes sense. Obviously he's gonna be tough because he is like the leader of a mafia family. Oh, and also the name that I was kind of bouncing around for him was Marco, and so I really think Marco kind of suits him, and you'll see as I'm doodling him here. why I kind of feel that way. But anyway, the first sort of body pose that I did, I wanted to do for an older man, and I ended up giving him a cane. And I just felt like it would make sense if he had a cane, because I feel like after years of being in the mafia, there's no way you get out of it sort of kind of unscathed. Like, you probably have some scars, you probably have some injuries and stuff. So my first sort of idea was kind of to make him look a little bit more like his son, in the sense like he's kind of a skinny sort of guy, still muscular, but yeah, on the smaller, like thinner side. But then as I was thinking about it, as I was trying this one, I was like, no, because in my notes I had put that I kind of wanted him, his son, to resemble the mother more, like this guy's wife, like Marco's wife. So I was like, if he's gonna resemble his mom more, I have to sort of kind of change the way his dad looks and try to make them look a little bit less similar. So what I wanted to do is I decided I was going to give them the same eye shape. And so the eye shape is one thing that does not change throughout all of these little exploration doodles, just because that was the one definitive thing I wanted to remain the same between the two characters, just to show that they are related, just because I feel like their physical appearances are going to look a little bit different. And so after I did this one, no offense to this design, it's fine design. It's probably a little bit too classic mobster with the slick back hair, the cleave shaven look, and the cane and the suit. So maybe it was a little bit too cliche for me. Maybe that's why I didn't like it. Not to say that the look that I go for in the end is not cliche. It's cliche in a different way, though. In a way that I feel like is a little bit more, I don't know, acceptable to me at this moment in time. So here we are, starting on that second sort of look that looks a little bit more of cliche, I guess. So I wanted to keep him at a square jaw. Initially, I was making his neck a little bit thinner to show that he is like an old man, and then I was like, later on, you'll see this later on, I make his neck thicker again. It's because I'm like, well, if he's an older man, and I am gonna make him a little bit heavier set, which is what I decide to do here in this one. I tried to make him a little bit wider. I feel like later on I do make him even more wide, because after I did this one, I was like, well, just because he's an older guy doesn't mean he has to be like frail and stuff. But I still, the thing is, I want him to not appear frail, but I do want his age to be coming after him. So that's kind of partially why his son is okay with playing it up and like just being a drunk and stuff, is because he feels like his dad is so strong. He's seen his dad be strong for his whole life, and so his dad is not showing him the fact that he is slowing down in his older age. And so I wanted that to reflect in sort of kind of his appearance, and so I decided I was going to make him a bit stockier, a bit wider set, to like really show off like that sort of mafia gruffness. So I feel like he kind of looks more like an enforcer than he does look like the boss of the mafia, but I kind of like that look for him, just because I feel like a guy named Marco is like if you like seen mafia movies, he'd be like, hey yo Marco, come get this guy and feed him to the fishes or whatever, right? Obviously they're not gonna say that in the comic, but that's like the vibe it gives, both appearance wise and name wise. So maybe that could like feed in a little bit to his story, but nothing is super set in stone as of yet. But yeah, I decided that after doing the like skinny looking guy, I was like, make him a little bit thicker, and so I came up with this one. And then I decided, I was like, the slick back hair is a little bit too much, like, I don't know, classic, I guess. So I was like, well, what if I give him a buzz cut? And also, you know what, a buzz cut is also kind of a classic, but I really don't generally draw people with buzz cuts. I have one other character with a buzz cut. You guys have seen him in the past. It's the Inspector, and he is also former mafia. So I'm like, maybe I just associate buzz cuts and slick back hair as mafia. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like I need more practice drawing buzz cuts anyway, because like I said, I don't really draw them too often. I don't really draw the Inspector too often, and it's my first time drawing this guy, so I need practice with buzz cuts. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and be honest with you guys. And I say that a lot, but I'm always trying to be honest with you guys. Anyway, the point is, I'm not super duper in love with the character design that I do end up coming up with for Marco here. Not to say that I don't like it. What I feel like is unsuccessful about it is the fact that I do not know how to draw older people. And I've been saying that that is a struggle that I have, because I don't really draw older people.
And that's something I really need to practice. It's not going to be the study session for this Thursday. I already have picked out what I want to study this Thursday, but maybe next week I'm going to like try to study some older people and figure out the way to put wrinkles on their faces, because for this one I just put some lines under his eyes and then I just like cut his cheeks to make him look a little bit more gaunt. And I'm like, what if he's like kind of like a chubby guy or just like a little bit more stout guy? His face wouldn't really have those cuts in him, right? Like the really pronounced cheekbones. And I'm like, I guess that makes him look like nice looking, I guess. I don't know. But it doesn't really make him look old and also make his face look round in the way that I like. Not that I like, but the way that I'm aiming for. And so I feel like that part of the character design is a little bit unsuccessful. You guys can tell me if he looks older or not. If he looks like he's 60, he's supposed to be at least 60 years old. So please tell me if that was successful or not. Like when it comes to this particular drawing that I'm doing right now, I feel like this guy does not look like he's 60 years old, and I could have played it off and been like, oh, this is him when he was younger, but that's not true. I was not trying to draw him when he looked younger. I was trying to draw him when he looks like now, just but when he's like after finishing like an interrogation or like a beat down or something, but I don't feel like I was successful doing that, and that's okay. I feel like it's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and keep trying, because like I said, this character does indeed play a pretty pivotal role in the first half of the story. And so the way that I want this story to kind of play out is I want the first half of it to be kind of overcoming the antagonist that is Marco, like the dad figure in their arranged marriage. And so I want Marco to kind of be an antagonist, in the sense that he is kind of standing in the way of their goal and also making them do stuff that they don't want to do. But eventually they do grow closer together and they do eventually fall in love. Oh my god. And so they kind of owe that to Marco, and Marco kind of ends up easing up on the main lead dude guy. I mean, him and Kira still did not get along. I do a little doodle of them not getting along, because she hates him, obviously, because he's forced her in this situation. But he's just sort of kind of amused by her, because she kind of has like no power to like stand up to him, but she still tries. So he's like, that's funny. That's an admirable kid. Right? And so that was kind of like their whole dynamic. But I do eventually want him to be sort of kind of like, not doting, but sort of more approving of the way that they decide to carry over the taking care of the gang type thing, the mafia family type thing, just because he's like his whole goal is to like retire. And so he would be the main antagonist for the first half of the story, and eventually, like I said, he kind of goes away from being an antagonist. He's not a villain. I mean, he's like a villain in the sense that he's a leader of a mafia gang and he kills people and stuff, but he's not a villain in the sense of the story where he's like evil. In terms of like the other characters, like he's still the MC's dad. Like he's not like an evil person. He's just antagonizing them, like antagonizing in the way of like a story. Like you can be an antagonist without being a villain, and so he's like an antagonist, and so he's antagonizing the story to get it going right. But in the second half of the story, I do plan on there to be a second antagonist who is more of like a true villain. I'll go ahead and tell you who it's supposed to be. It's not like a secret. Well, no, it's not really a secret, but I am planning on doing him for the next character design video. Well, maybe not the next one, because he doesn't actually appear in the first chapter of the story. I really wanted to go ahead and design Marco, the main MC's dad, because he actually does appear in like the prologue / first chapter of the story. He kind of sets up the premise of the main MC guy getting a mafia wife. And so that's kind of why I needed a design for him, because I can't really move forward with making that first chapter without a design for him. And so I really needed to do that, which is why I designed him in this video. But the second villain, he does not appear in that very first chapter, so I really don't feel the need to design him right this second. But maybe I will talk about who he is in a later video. I'll just tell you, it's Kira's brother. But that really doesn't mean anything to you, because I haven't given you a backstory on why. So I'll just leave it at that. So after I kind of sort of decided on him having, Marco having literally this wide set face just to counteract with his son, after a while I did go ahead and pull out the drawings that I have done of his son, and just wanted to, just counterbalance them, I guess. Since his son is kind of on the thinner side, I wanted to make the dad a little bit thicker. not that kind of thing, but wider set, and I wanted his jaw to be a little bit more square. I would say that the son's jaw is also a bit more square, but it's not as wide set. It goes a little bit narrow in the chin, and I just wanted to keep the dad's face really wide and square for his jaw. But then I was like, I don't know if I really like the buzz cut, so I tried out different haircuts. And you know what? I tried out this one that was a little bit more wavy to go with his son's hair, he does have more wavy hair, but it's like pulled back, and I'm like, I don't like this. It's not the vibe I'm really going for. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and try to give him like a 70s style like mobster haircut. And the reason I decided this is if he's 60 years old right now, he would have to have been basically he would have had to have been born in the 60s and then raised in the 70s, and so maybe he would have like admired the mobsters that he grew up around in the 70s, and so maybe he tried to like replicate their look with like a 70s style haircut. But the haircut is fucking ugly, and so, well, not that it's ugly, but I was not able to draw it in a way that I liked, so I was like, no, we're just gonna keep the buzz cut. And I feel like the buzz cut was the right choice. And then you just see me drawing him with Kira. Like I said, they don't really get along. He just finds her amusing and she finds him infuriating, and I just think that is a fun dynamic for comedy purposes. But then I also drew him interacting with his son. Not really interacting with his son, but more reacting to his son, where his son is drunk and he's like, Jesus fucking Christ, this kid. Yeah, so I'm not entirely 100% settled on this character design. I wanted to make it a little bit rough, so I did add that scar to his lip, but I don't really have a story reason behind it yet. And I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that scar there or if I'm going to come up with a story reason to put it somewhere else. I do want him to look a little bit roughed up. Like I said, I don't think he'd come out of years being a mafia boss without some scrapes or injuries out of it. I decided to get rid of the cane, though. I felt it a little bit too cliche. Obviously, old man with a cane, and then you find out old man's capable and he beats somebody up with the cane is like super cool. It's always cool, no matter when it happens. Just old man being like, I'm old and frail, and then he just whips out the cane and it's always fun. But not really the vibe I'm going for here. Like I said, I want him to be like sort of stocky and to put up the illusion that he's still as strong as he used to be. And so having like the whole visual thing with the cane kind of will take away from that. And so I got rid of the cane for that reason. But I would be willing to put some more scars, maybe on his fists or something. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. And so this character design is not 100% done yet, but that's okay. You see me coloring it in here now. I don't know. I don't hate this character design. Like I said, I think this is a good first pass. Usually I do a couple more passes before I fully decide what I'm gonna do, but I do think this is like a good foundation for what I'm wanting to work on. I think I have to hammer down some more points of personality before I can really get into what I really want his character design to be. But that's alright. Like I said, I know what his role is in the family, but I don't really know what his whole vibe is in his like a personal life, basically. I know he and his son are kind of at odds, and I know that his wife and him had sort of a marriage of obligation, but I'm not entirely sure how those things are going to feed into his appearance. Those parts of his personality are going to feed into his appearance yet. But anyway, that is pretty much the end of the video, you guys. Thank you for spending this time with me. I did have a little bit of a rough time with this video. I got a little bit frustrated, but I hope it didn't really come out too much in the video itself. So yeah, thank you for spending this time with me. I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Bye.